Is Taylor or who's running this? Oh, there we go. He launched. Okay.
Hey, it's Brittany. We're getting started. We were figuring out some captioning stuff, but we're good.
Okay.
We are live and recording.
We'll get started in about 2 minutes.
Okay, so should I start screen sharing now, Kim?
Nope, not yet, not after.
Okay.
Get ready to, after I finish my spiel.
Okay.
This
Hey, Debbie.
This is Brittany. I think, Kim, you're going to be sharing what's on the screen, so it might be helpful for Kenneth to share that first slide. It does have the information you'll be sharing.
Okay. So it's asking me who should share. So should I just say all panelists so we all can?
That's fine.
Okay. And then, sorry, I'm on screen 2. I gotta get it up. Okay, are you seeing it?
Perfect.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, it's 1:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Kim Gibson, the Vice President of the April Board and the facilitator of the call today. I want to let you know we have our room host is Brittany, our cart is Lindsay, and our interpreter is John. Thank you for joining us for this workshop, Facilitating Groups and Online Workshop Delivery, Healthy Community Living, presented by Tanis Hargrove, Dory Tempio, oh, I'm going to slaughter people's names, sorry, and Edgar Morales. I want to mention a few housekeeping items before we get started today. First, when you scroll over the screen, a menu bar pops up. Depending on what device you are on, you can find that menu bar at the top or at the bottom of the screen. There is where you will find the closed captioning for today's session. You can view the captioning by selecting the CC tab on the menu bar. Stream text is also available for today's call. You can find that in the conference website connection instructions for this session. For sign language interpreting, you can find the interpreter on the screen. You can change the interpreter's panelist box size when a presentation is being shown or shared by size by moving the bar in over. If you are unable to see the interpreter, please let us know. To join into the chat, please find the word bubble in that same menu bar. Once that is selected, that will allow you to follow along with the chat or add in your comments. For question and answer times, please note that the question and answers box is on the menu bar. Please only submit questions there as they may get lost in the chat. So make sure you use that question and answer. It really helps us locate those. To ask a question or make a comment, you can also select the hand option on the menu, and that allows us to know you have a question. For this particular website or webinar, the question and answer will be at the end of the session. For those of you on the phone today or using keystrokes, we ask that you press *9 on your keypad to raise your hand. We will let you know when to unmute you. Remember, if you join into the conversation, please keep all the background noise down as much as possible to allow us to hear you clearly. Thank you, and Tanis, you're up.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us. Welcome. My name is Tanis Hargrove. I'm the project director for the Research and Training Center for Rural. And we are here today to talk about facilitating groups online and online workshop delivery. And I'll be joined by two of our partners, Dory Tempio and Edgar Morales. I just want to say thank you for joining us this morning. It's morning for me. I think it's afternoon for a lot of you. But we appreciate you being here in this kind of new format for the April conference, which is pretty exciting. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about who we are. Dory is the Director of Community Outreach and Consumer Rights at Able South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina. And Edgar, let's see here, sorry. And Edgar is the Life Skills Specialist at the Independent Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So we're excited to talk to you more about facilitating groups and online workshops. We do have a disclosure that the contents of this presentation were developed under a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. NIDLR is a center within the Administration for Community Living, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the contents and opinions expressed reflect those of the authors and are not necessarily those of the funding agency, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. Okay, we got that out of the way. Today's presentation, we're going to talk about what is healthy community living, what's included in healthy community living and the license, which includes actually 4 programs now. So we've come a long way just since last year when you may have seen me present at the conference in Michigan. We now have community living skills, which also includes a facilitator training for facilitating community living skills, living well in the community, a facilitating groups training, and then also working well with a disability will be coming soon. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of these. And then we'll hear from our healthy community living expert facilitators, Dory and Edgar, who will share their experiences about the program with all of you. What is healthy community living? Healthy community living is a health promotion and self-management program for people with disabilities. It includes 2 peer-led independent living skills workshops, one community living skills and the other living well in the community. It also includes facilitator trainings that you can do at your own pace for learning how to facilitate each of these programs and workshops, as well as a separate online facilitating groups training intended to help independent living staff bolster their facilitation skills and learn more about how to facilitate groups effectively. Next slide. Healthy community living is, oh, sorry, I have to make my slides move. Woo. Healthy community living is a series of workshops that people can take with their peers to have group discussions on topics relevant to their lives. Facilitators present slides actually from the Healthy Community Living website to consumers, and that can be done either in person or now mostly that's happening online through an online platform such as Zoom, just like this. The workshops focus on quality of life, building self-determination, relatedness, autonomy, and finding and building supports. They foster peer connections in an independent living setting. Healthy community living is also a fun and challenging way for people to learn more about themselves and their health. It supports people to learn about increasing their independence in the community. It means independent living core services for your CIL or your organization. And it was created in partnership with people with disabilities from across the country. Next slide. How was healthy community living created? We wanted to stay true to the nothing about us without us philosophy of independent living. So we brainstormed, outlined, drafted, came together with people from all different centers for independent living in different regions to help us create these workshops. And our collaborators provided resources, ideas, mini focus groups. They brought us feedback from their consumers, and they really gave us a lot of on-the-ground feedback about content, activities, and the information included in the workshops. Who is healthy community living for? Next slide. Healthy community living is for everyone, and it can be a great way to connect with consumers, help to reduce isolation, and help people meet their independent living goals. So healthy community living sort of has a series of workshops, and the first workshop is community living skills. Community living skills is an 11-week workshop within the Healthy Community Living program. And community living skills is focused on building skills for living independently. And it also includes an online facilitator training that facilitators can go through at their own pace. For community living skills, next slide, community living skills participants can build support networks with their peers. They explore options and possibilities for setting personal goals. They get information on skills and resources for living and participating in the community, and they build confidence and comfort in decision-making and problem solving. This next slide is a look at the website for community living skills, which includes, as you'll see, the orientation and then 10 other workshops. And you can do the workshops weekly. That's how most people do it. But they include things like disability identity, self-advocacy, and I'll actually give you the list here of all the different workshop topics. So the workshop topics are an orientation, disability identity, peer support, self-advocacy, self-care, housing, technical skills, budgeting and finance, transportation, and time use. And we have some photos here, one of 3 men standing on the lawn outside the courthouse. Here's a group of consumers playing with water balloons on the beach. We have a woman getting into a taxi, and then a mother and daughter in their power chairs wheeling on a trail. So community living skills is kind of the first step in the workshop series with healthy community living, followed by the next workshop, which is living well in the community. Living Well in the Community is also an 11-week program within the Healthy Community Living suite. It's focused on setting goals to improve the overall quality of life and well-being, and it's adapted from our older workbook version you might know well, Living Well with a Disability. Next slide. In Living Well, participants learn to identify what's meaningful to them, and they set quality of life goals. They make progress towards goals that they set by applying problem-solving skills and managing emotions like frustration and discouragement. They discover tools and skills that can make goal achievement easier, like communicating effectively and finding important resources. They explore ways to improve their overall health by changing daily habits. And they also practice self-advocacy and systems advocacy to help make changes to support them and others in living well. This next slide here, is a quick screenshot of the Living Well in the Community homepage. So each of these topic areas has the content for a weekly 2-hour workshop. And the Living Well in the Community workshops include, next slide, the orientation, goal setting, building support, healthy reactions, staying on course, healthy communication, seeking information, eating well, physical activity, advocacy, and maintenance. And we have some photos here of a mother and her son getting ice cream from an ice cream truck, some people participating in adaptive yoga, a man wheeling through the airport in a manual chair, and then someone in a power chair getting off of what looks like paratransit. Also included, next slide, it is a facilitating groups training. The facilitating groups training is something that we wanted to highlight because it seems like this is the online groups are a nice way to connect with consumers via Zoom, especially now that most of us are home and people are more isolated. So the facilitating groups training is an online facilitator training program that allows you to learn at your own pace. It's intended for professional development and training of Centers for Independent Living staff or other organization staff. It helps you learn general tips and skills to be a strong facilitator of any group or workshop. It doesn't have to be specific to the programs that we offer. It's not specific to working with CLS or the Living Well in the community. It's just to help guide facilitators to learn and improve their skills. Next slide. This is a screenshot of what the facilitating groups training looks like. So just so you can get a sense of what's included. Next slide, and I'll go over some of the topics. So the facilitating groups training topics include foundations, relationships, active listening, behavior change, sharing your story, asking questions, accessibility, direct communication, referrals, and then facilitator self-care. And so each of these topic areas has information for facilitators on that topic. And this slide includes some photos of people at the April conference last year in a workshop. Everyone's raising their hand and holding up different signs. We have another group, what looks like a peer group talking, a woman with her service dog. We have a group of people in a workshop playing with a beach ball, and then some students in a class watching a presenter as well. Next slide. In addition to the community living skills, living well in the community, and the facilitating groups training, we're also hoping to add working well with a disability in January of 2021. Working well with a disability is meant to build on the Living Well in the Community program. Working Well focuses on the balance between health and transition to employment, or balancing health and employment. And the program is still in development, but it should be available by January of 2021. I have next slide. I've included a quick screenshot of what working well with a disability will look like. It's very much in progress. We're excited to add it. Next slide. And the working well topics include an orientation, working for your values, the Great Balancing Act, stress and working well, the power of advocacy, balancing through physical activity, eating well to live well, and maintaining a healthy balance. There are some photos here with working well. One includes a desk with 2 computer screens. Another is two women sitting at a panel at a table, which I believe is also the April conference, a woman sitting in front of her computer, and then 2 people sitting together working on a laptop. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to Edgar Morales, who's going to talk a little bit about facilitating the Healthy Community Living programs. Dory and Edgar have both facilitated both community living skills and living well in the community. And so we're going to hear from them about what it's like to facilitate those programs and workshops, and they'll talk to you about their personal experiences. And with that, I will turn it over to Edgar.
Hey everyone, my name is Edgar Morales, and I'm the Independent Living Skills Specialist here at the Colorado Springs Center. And I have facilitated the Healthy Community Living for about 2 years. And as a facilitator, I want to say that the sessions and the activities are easy and so successful and very engaging, and the consumers are wonderful and they participate. And you, as a facilitator, it's not very hard to facilitate because it is skills that we learned to be independent. And so when you go in and you facilitate, you'll see the students and the consumers. At the beginning, they learn and they help each other, and you see all the successes that. I have so many success stories. Like one participant attended the eating well. And after that, after attending the eating well class, she said, oh, because of this, I started eating more healthier and I lost 3 pounds. And another one, when another participant attended the exercise one, and she didn't really participate, and she didn't really was active. And after she attended the exercise one, she started running more and she started walking more. And she said, man, I'm so active now, and I'm so like grateful for these classes, because these classes, although they teach independent living skills, is like a peer support group, because we become like a family. At the end, they say, is this over yet? Because I know it's 22 weeks, but it really goes really fast. It really goes really fast because a lot of the consumers bond with each other. They become family. They help each other. They support each other. And that's what you see in these classes. You see like growing from young to old, and it's just like you see this, wow, you have changed, you have blossomed. And those are successes that you see when you're teaching these classes. And for me, by myself, you also learn from these classes, because you also learn these skills that you might, oh yeah, I can do this too. So as a facilitator, you're also learning from these classes. And so it is the Healthy Community Living class is great, because first, we support each other, and second, it's like a bonding experience. And you see so many changes and so many wonderful things. And it's just very helpful, and it's just skills that will help you for a lifetime. It will be with you, and you'll be able to use it all through your life. All through life. And it's so amazing. As just a facilitator, it's just so great to just see the changes that the consumers, and just lighting themselves like, man, I can do this. I can really do this. And maybe they've never thought they'd be able to do this, but with the support and the encouragement from the group, they're able to support, and they're able to do these things. And they can take this that they have learned and take them and do it living in their life. So as a facilitator, this is a great curriculum and a wonderful experience for many of consumers. Like, you should see all the changes and all the things that I have seen in these 2 years. And it's just, they blossom. It's just like a butterfly or like a caterpillar just blossoming. It's just a wonderful experience for all the consumers. So for that, I will pass the torch to Dory.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am so excited to be with you all today. What I love about the Healthy Community Living curriculum is it was designed by the people it serves. And what I mean by that, I am excited to say that I have been with the grant for 5 years. I can't believe it. I was actually on the team that helped write the material.
Dory, can you hear me? This is Kim. For whatever reason, your audio just went really weird, and I know that it was clear previously.
Is that any better, Kim?
Absolutely, much better. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know what it is. Sorry about that. I wanted to say to everybody, first off, I am so excited to be here. I can't think of a better curriculum and foundation for independent living than Healthy Community Living. I am honored to say I was a part of this collaboration from the beginning 5 years ago. I happen to be one of the people who helped to write it, and now I'm one of the sites with my co-facilitator who facilitates it. And it really gets at the foundations of independent living, which independent living, as it started, was a peer-based model. And this curriculum is based on that. So not only are the facilitators people who are people with disabilities, but we are also the folks that created it, team members with and without disabilities that work at Centers for Independent Living. And that, I think, is a tremendous asset to this curriculum, because it was created by people who do this every day in our living. And I think what I found is so successful about this, and what I hear from consumers every time they take the sessions, is that they come out of it with disability pride, self-determination, and the ability to self-advocate, not only for themselves, but for people with disabilities and the disability community as a whole. What I love about it is we all are always trying to teach people the 5 core services of independent living. And this curriculum meets all of them. And that's such a tremendous asset, because it's less time out of your schedule to have to put materials together. And I can speak to that because for our Center for Independent Living, under my role, I actually create independent living skills trainings for individuals with disabilities on a variety of topics that consumers choose. And what I liked about this is this hits on all of the major topics that we want individuals to get out of independent living. And not the idea that everybody does everything on their own, but that you are in the driver's seat for how you want to carry out the activities of independent living. You are in the driver's seat for how you want to advocate for the things that you want and need and the goals that you want to achieve. And not only does it do all of that, but then we as facilitators do those goals with the consumers as part of the curriculums. And that's such a tremendous asset, because then they don't see us as facilitators, they see us as their peers. And that's really, as Ed Roberts would have told you, that's exactly what he wanted out of Centers for Independent Living. What I have found successful over the 2 years that we've been facilitating the curriculums is, number one, they all want it to go longer. In the beginning, they are like 11 weeks, another 11 weeks, but then like the second session, they're like, I hope this doesn't end anytime soon, because they end up facilitating a peer bond amongst themselves. And where I have found this to be a tremendous asset also is with coronavirus. The disability community, we are being isolated more. We are away from the people that we love more. Those of us in institutionalized settings don't have access to some of the community resources we might otherwise. And so I'm seeing individuals that are taking part in our classes right now. We were able to successfully, with the help of April and the University of Montana, all of us that are facilitating, move our classes online using Zoom. So what another tremendous asset moving forward, whether it's coronavirus or not. Think of how many more people we can reach that otherwise may not be able to get to our centers because they live in rural areas without transportation. So I really think what a beneficial thing that this could do for all of us. The areas where I've seen consumers have success within our organization, we not only took the foundations of the curriculum, my friends, but then we tailored it to meet the needs of our specific communities, our specific regions. So we took the basics of the transportation session, and then we tailored it and added in our own state transportation models, because we've had people from all over the state take the class, both virtually and in person, and then be able to tailor it to their needs and what they need within our region. So even if you are in South Dakota, you are in Georgia, you are in New York, you are in California, you can tailor this to your community. What a great thing, right? Without us all having to create it from the ground up. And then, so for us, I'm going to share with you some specifics that we happen to have. One of our consumers, after the first 6 weeks of the class, started saving money for their own accessible vehicle and modifications to her vehicle, and said to us, I didn't think I could do that prior to this class. I didn't think I had the self-determination within myself, and she did. Then we had several individuals who had never utilized rideshare like Uber and Lyft embark on it. And one of these individuals was a high schooler who, as part of his IEP goals, was able to take the course and use it as part of his transition plan. So here's another way you might be able to work with your local school systems to make that integrate successfully. This is an individual with significant disabilities who was able, after this course, to take rideshare to and from our classes, to places in the community, to places of school related. And what a big deal for him, because the social cueing and socialization skills were not something that came easy to him. So we really worked on that too as part of the class. And then he felt more comfortable doing so. We had another person who, as a result of the transportation lesson, said they would never ever travel outside the state of South Carolina. They didn't like the idea that with their disability and a spinal cord injury that they would not feel in control of being put on a transfer board and other things like that to get on an airplane. And as a result of the course, they took a trip to the West Coast. And so really, I think what I've seen that's so monumental and integral of this course is just the change in individuals, the change in their belief in themselves, the change in their abilities to self-advocate and communicate with family members, friends, service providers. And ultimately, I think the one phenomenal thing that I didn't put on the slide, but I did want to share, is we had an individual who had a healthy goal of being able to feed people in her community. And it was right before COVID struck. And being able to reach out to those who have some food inequities and lack of being able to find food resources. And she developed a whole plan as a result of this course to work with a community entity to provide food to individuals with disabilities and other people who don't see themselves identifying as people with disabilities. And she and that partner got together, and now they're distributing food to the community. I have a picture on the slide, and it's a picture of a participant, and she learned to use paratransit as a result of the course. And she learned about the Americans with Disabilities Act related to the course and how it impacts your ability to use transportation. And she said it's a picture of her on the lift on the paratransit vehicle, and it says, hashtag, thanks to the ADA, I have access to accessible transportation, allowing me to work, shop, and live in my community. And I think if that doesn't highlight it all, that's what this is about. And I think all of us can say, if all of our consumers can benefit like the ones that have benefited from the courses across the country where it's been facilitated at different centers for independent living, then imagine the numbers of people we could impact if this was national at every center for independent living and every disability organization. And at the end of the day, I want to thank April and the University of Montana for the opportunity to not only help write the curriculum, but to actually get to see it put into play by facilitating. And I can never say enough about this curriculum to all of you. So I hope you all will consider utilizing it at your organization, because at the end of the day, when we make individuals independent, then we truly create an inclusive community and society. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dory and Edgar. I am so lucky to get to work with both of you every day. We're going to talk a little bit about the program, how you get it, how you can have it at your organization. So how to get the Healthy Community Living program. You can go to healthycommunityliving.com to purchase a license. It includes both the community living skills and living well in the community, as well as the facilitating groups training. And it will also include working well with a disability in January of 2021. One license costs $500 per year. The $500 licensing fee includes all those programs, and you can have 5 facilitators who access the website. You can also purchase multiple licenses for the same organization if you wanted to do more than 5 facilitators. Next slide. There's also additional resources that are included with the Healthy Community Living program. There's facilitator training, so we help the facilitators not only learn the content, but they go through facilitation tips and facilitator trainings for both programs. There's recruitment brochures, so you can print those or send them electronically to your consumers. So recruitment brochures and all the materials that you need for each program. There's certificates of completion for both your consumers once they finish up an 11-week workshop, and facilitators for all of you, so that you can have a certificate to show that you're a trained facilitator. There's also additional resources for each weekly session, including full-length videos, additional worksheets, and supplementary information, as well as photos and videos of real people in real places. Next slide. If you're interested in learning more about community living, this is kind of just a quick intro here. You can virtually stop by our vendor booth after this presentation, and we'll be happy to talk to you in more detail about the program. You can also visit our website, which is, like I said, www.healthycommunityliving.com. And you can learn more about the rural applications of healthy community living in our second presentation this Friday, October 16th at 10 o'clock Mountain, titled Expanding Your Consumer Base Using Technology and Online Tools. And we'll talk more in that presentation with some other national partners who have focused on just using this program on Zoom with their consumers. So lots of different applications, lots of different opportunities. I also wanted to give, next slide, a special thanks to all of our independent living partners who have worked with us throughout this project. We are in the 5th year of this project, and we've had so many amazing partners. I just can't say enough great things about everyone who's helped us with this project. Truly, thank you all. And I won't read every single one of these, but just a special thanks to everyone who has helped us with this program. It's been so wonderful, and we're so excited that hopefully more people will start to use it and benefit from it as well. So special thanks to all of our partners. And then I also wanted to share, we wanted to share our presenter contact information. Here's my email address and Edgar's and Dory's. So if you do have questions or you're wondering about facilitation of the program or what that looked like in either Colorado or South Carolina, please feel free to reach out to Edgar or Dory. Or if you have questions about healthy community living in general, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to hear from you. So our email addresses are here. And we'll also be at the virtual booth, like I said, after this presentation today. And with that, I think we will turn it over, last slide, for questions, comments, reactions. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking, if you have questions for any of the presenters. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Kim. I'm going to leave my video off so you guys can talk without me there. So the first question, and I think you've answered this already, could we please get the link for the facilitating groups training?
Yes, so all of the programs go through the Healthy Community Living website, and that's healthycommunityliving.com. And in order to actually see the program, you have to purchase a license. So once you purchase a license, you'll get credentials, much like we did for the April conference, where then you log in and then you're able to see everything. The facilitating groups training is highlighted on the website on the tab where it says facilitator login.
Okay, the next question, is there a program like these but focusing on youth transitions?
We wrote community living skills with youth in transition in mind. So I think that the community living skills could be a very nice program and workshop for working with youth in transition. And Edgar, did you maybe want to respond to that?
Yes, so as a facilitator, it's written so you can cater to your audience. So it's easy to cater it. So you can make it for youth or for older individuals. So it's just, so it could be for anybody.
And I would add to that that more than half of our participants have been young adults in transition age, and they have loved class. A lot of our courses that we've held have been a mixture. And you know what's phenomenal about that is they learn from each other. And I think that's an experience that's invaluable for any of us. Being able to learn from our peers from a variety of backgrounds, from a variety of cultures, from a variety of ages and different places in life. So I would say this was really tailored and written to use with any age group. Like Edgar says, we found success with just about everyone with it.
Okay, the next question comes from Mandy. I apologize for not saying who asked the questions. I will be facilitating an empowerment resilience virtual group for people with disabilities. What would be the best way to have the initial session and develop topics that people are interested in? Do I have the topics conversations during the first session? Then any recommendations for how many times we meet? I want it to be semi-structured, but also consumer driven.
So you can tell the topics at the beginning, because they'll get the topics at the beginning. It will say the topics. So you can discuss, especially with this first one, you can, how can I say? You can make it so it will work for your students. So whatever works for them, you can cater to them. So if they want to do exercise first, they can do exercise first. Now in the second one session, you have to go in order, but in the first session, you can change the topics any way that the consumers want. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So community living skills, and I just pulled up the slide so you can see what the topics are. Community living skills is written so there's no order. You can start wherever people are most interested. And maybe your group only wants to do 5 of those workshops. You could only do 5. You can really, it's kind of choose your own adventure in that way. Whereas living well in the community, and I'll actually skip to that slide so you can see those topics one more time too. So living well in the community workshop topics are more, they build on each other. So you start with an orientation to help people understand where it's, what the workshop's about. And then in the second workshop, they're setting a goal. And so things kind of build from that original goal. So that is a little bit more linear, but also you can add to it things that, like Dory had talked about, things that are specific to your community and specific to your consumers. And Dory, do you want to respond to that too?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think listening to the group that you were specifically addressing, it's really great with the topics that you were mentioning to start probably with disability identity and really looking at who they are as individuals and who they are as a group, because we've done this for 2 years, all of us facilitators, and each group is a little bit different. So they take on their own kind of identity, which is a great thing. And they each have their own passions that they bring to the table. And then I think it's really good to go from disability identity to finding support and peer support, because it helps that group to see where their foundation of offering peer support is. And then taking that kind of into the self-advocacy realm, I found with the kind of group that you're discussing, that when you start with those three and then maybe getting into self-care, because that also is good for establishing what I call like group structure, because then we learn more about what helps individuals in the group to feel supported, to know when they can take a break, to know how they can offer support to each other. And so I hope that's an answer to you. I found with the groups that when we're establishing some of those, it really does, even in the community living skills one, and for the type of group that you're referring to start with those four, because they really set up what I call the group tone, the tone of the group, and where that group wants to go through the adventure of the courses. And that's a great thing. My co-facilitator, Sarah, and I always comment to each other that no group that we've done in 2 years has been the exact same. And that's a good thing. It's really helpful to find each group's kind of niche and each group's kind of personality.
Yeah, and I want to add that, like Dory said, each group, it becomes a separate little thing because they have their own personality. So it's not going to be the same every single time, because it all depends on each group, because how they bonded and everything. So they take their personalities. So yeah, it's an adventure. It's really an adventure just teaching these classes.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, Kim. Since I'm screen sharing, I also think sometimes it's really hard to present on this program because we have so much, and it is a website. But I wanted to mention that the website, once you're in, so I'm now screen sharing, this is actually community living skills, what you would do in a workshop. And I wanted to demonstrate here that this is actually the workshop content that you go through and read to your consumers. So as a facilitator, you're trained and familiarizing yourself with this content, but you're literally presenting the information from the website. So this is the disability identity session. So if you were to present to a group, you can actually pull up what we call these cards or PowerPoint slides that walk you through the different content of the program. And this one has a video, so you can play the videos, and you'll play videos and have discussions. And then there's also discussion questions and topics here within the website that are already set up for you to review with your group. So as a facilitator, I think it's a really nice, like Dory talked about, not having to recreate the wheel, so to speak, in terms of coming up with independent living topics and content, because this is done for you within the program. And so you're able to work your way through the tabs. You go from the introduction to disclosure and present the content to your group from the website. And that can be done in person or through a platform like Zoom, which is how they're using it right now. So I think that might also just help clear up some questions. Okay, sorry about that. Back to Kim.
Okay, of course, Charlie starts barking. So there's a couple things. I skipped a couple questions because I know these are yes or no. From April Meredith, is the Healthy Community Living website and all resource content materials screen reader accessible?
Yes.
Okay. And then Joe Gentry, how can we get the curriculum for our organization? I believe you answered that, but just in case.
So just again to reiterate, in order to purchase and I'm just going to go to the healthycommunityliving.com. We're actually live on the website right now. You'll see here it's a welcome, and you just click on purchasing an HCL license. That's where you can actually click the live link. It will give you a program guide that walks you through all the details of the entire program if you'd like to download that. And then you click here on the button, purchase the Healthy Community Living license. So it should be pretty smooth and seamless. If your organization prefers not to use a credit card, we can also accept a purchase order, and you just need to contact us directly for us to work that out. You can also email the program at healthycommunityLiving@mso.umt.edu, and we can work out how you'd like to purchase the program. So I think that should take care of that question.
Okay, this comes from Alyssa Norman. Is there a reduced price for single facilitators at small rural CILs when there is only one person to facilitate groups?
That's a great question. We do have a link here on the website for reduced fee licensing. We do ask that you answer a few questions and fill out an application. So that is an option, and that is also available through the website.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to John Wall asks, how do you reach out to get clients to take one of the webinars if they do not have access to a computer? Also, even if they do, how do you reach out to clients when there is client confidentiality laws to get around?
Story or Edgar, do you want to talk about that process?
So what we've been doing is we've been using Zoom, and if they don't have access to internet or anything, we can call in. We can call in, and they will also mail in the PowerPoint or the worksheets, so they'll have it in front of them. So there's always an option. I know it's not going to be the same, but at least they'll be able to call in, and we'll call them in, and we'll send them the PowerPoints and the activities.
We do similar things to what Edgar Center for Independent Living does. We reach out to our consumers that are already in our SilSuite database and who are working with IL staff to talk about what goals do individuals have, because a lot of the goals individuals have match up with the curriculum, and between their independent living staff member and myself, we will call them, email them, connect with them. We also reach out to partner agencies who serve people with disabilities and allow them to be a part of the recruiting process. We also use social media, e-blast, because we're not sharing anyone's information. I can only speak for my Center for Independent Living, but we have a, when they sign up for services, a option that they can sign up and waive their like agree to be sent things about programs and different things that we have. So we're not like giving out anybody's health information. We have their permission to contact them, etc. And then let me tell you, people come out of the woodwork for it. They really want the class. And I think it's a good way to recruit. It's also a good way to form community partnerships. I'm hoping when COVID ends, which is not now, that we might even be able to go to other community entities and partner up and offer the course. It's just right now with COVID, and when we were piloting, we did a lot of it at our center just because we knew we had the technology to show it in the office and didn't have to worry about that quite so much. The other thing I wanted to point out that I think Tanis touched on it, but I wanted to share why this part is so important. She mentioned that all the images are of real people. The videos and the pictures are real people with disabilities who have strived to reach goals for independent living. And it's phenomenal because our folks have loved these videos because they're like, that's me on the screen. That's me living my life. It's not a video created by Hollywood that uses inspiration porn and ableism and other things to get people's attention about disability. These are actual people with disabilities who have been where our participants are, trying to reach goals and how they've strived to reach them, and also the failures they had in trying to achieve some of the goals and all the different topic areas. And the videos are captioned, they're what my consumers said. They like it. We had a class today right before I got here, and they said, you know what we like about the video, Dory, is that they're straight to the point, brief, and they're done in plain language where anybody can understand. And at the end of the day, that's instrumental for people to achieve success. To me, I go back to Ed Roberts and the founders of Centers for Independent. They were all about learning from your peers. And that's what this course is. And those videos are such a testament to that. And when you have consumers say to you, look at, there's me, that's me on the screen. They may not have the same disability as me. They may not be from the same state. They may not have the same exact background, but they understand what I am trying to achieve. And they showed me the success they've had and the failure, but that they got back up and found another way to problem solve. And that's great, because how many of us, if you're of my generation, I am in my 50s, we didn't have that to look at, whether we were young adults or even adults. It's only recently we've gotten to see some of that within the last 10 years. So I'm really telling you, this curriculum really packs it all, and it really leaves a lasting impression with consumers. I've had consumers that took the class 2 years ago reach out to me to tell me they've achieved their goals that they set out to at the beginning of the course. And that's just, I think, a testament to the class itself.
Yeah, and I want to pick you up to that. Yeah, all these classes, look how many goals they're working and look how many things they accomplish. And since they have a support system, they're able to support each other and reach those goals without being afraid, without being judged and all that stuff. So all these sessions are different goals that each person is working. So 22 goals that they can accomplish. And you'll see like their eyes and their passion, like I did this all by myself. And look, my family supported me and I did this. And yeah.
Okay, this is Kim again, and this is probably going to be the last question because I know you guys are running out of time. This comes from Martha Mason and asked, will we be covering facilitating groups and online workshops delivery, or is this just an ad that you guys are talking about?
I guess it's not just an ad. So the facilitating groups training is a specific training that people can do, and it's included. So if you purchase a license for Healthy Community Living, you get the facilitating groups training, and you can have your staff, you can have a number of staff go through that training if you'd like. You also get community living skills, living well in the community, and working well. So you pay the one-time $500, and then you're able to access those 4 programs. The facilitating groups training, and like we went through, I can review, goes through the topics that we talked about. And let me actually go back to the PowerPoint here. So the facilitating groups training walks their facilitators through essentially the foundations, relationships, active listening, behavior change, sharing your story, asking questions, direct communication, referrals, self-care, and accessibility. And it's just really geared towards how to facilitate a workshop in general. We co-wrote it with the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living, our wonderful Mary Willard, who helped us really, I think, draw on her skills as well as her skills of facilitating groups to create this workshop. And training, I think it's a really nice training for independent living staff. It's kind of a newer addition to the Healthy Community Living program. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I hope so.
Okay, Tanis, we're out of time. And so before I give you your final thoughts, I just want to remind everybody to fill out the evaluations. It really provides some feedback on different things. And the survey, the link is there on breakout sessions, but you also can find it on your conference tab. And I'll let you close out, Tanis.
Awesome. Well, I know this is a lot of information to try and cover, especially in an hour. I want to give another huge shout out and thank you to Dory and Edgar for joining me today. And if you have more questions, we will be at our vendor table for about the next hour and a half. Happy to answer more questions there. Really happy to talk to you about the Healthy Community Living Program. I think it's a wonderful resource for Centers for Independent Living. And I'm happy to get into the nuts and bolts with you anytime. Send me an email or we can chat at the vendor table. Join me for my presentation on Friday where we'll talk more about using this on Zoom. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful day.